Mike Tyson, Iron Mike. Mike Tyson did not take long to earn a nickname that would stick to him forever. When he stepped into the professional ring in the mid-1980s, the public discovered a young heavyweight who carried both explosiveness and brutality in one body. Very quickly, he became Iron Mike, and that name captured both his power and his relentless style of fighting that made him act like a forged machine of steel built to demolish opponents. The nickname took root in his meteoric rise when Tyson chained knockout wins often in less than a minute, and when he dropped men twice his age and experience. The clearest example was his victory against Michael Spinks in 91 seconds on June 27, 1988. His fights were swift executions, and commentators searched for a simple phrase to define that overwhelming force. Iron Mike became the perfect label because his punches seemed unbreakable and his will never seemed to fade. The crowd tied this name to a fighter who embodied pure hardness at a time when the heavyweight division had lost the mythical breath once left by Ali and Frazier. That nickname also carried a psychological resonance. Tyson had grown up in a violent environment marked by poverty and survival in the streets of Brooklyn. When Cus D'Amato adopted him and taught him discipline, he shaped a fighter who showed no weakness inside the ropes. The name Iron Mike reflected that image of invincibility that nobody could crack and projected the aura of an indestructible man every time he walked shirtless into the ring. But Iron Mike was not only an image, it was also a commercial weapon. In the media, that name spread like a slogan that captured attention, and it even became more famous than his real first name. Fans across the world remembered Iron Mike before they even knew his story. With time, the nickname took on another weight. After being the undisputed champion and terror of the division, Tyson went through prison and humiliating defeats tainted with scandals. Yet Iron Mike remained attached to his identity like an indelible mark. Even in decline, the public still saw in him that raw force that defined the 1980s and 1990s. Muhammad Ali, the greatest. Muhammad Ali's nickname was not created by the media, nor was it a simple marketing label. It came from himself. From his earliest years of glory, Ali loudly proclaimed that he was the greatest. Many first saw it as arrogance, but over the course of his career, that word became his signature and a symbol of greatness that transcended boxing. His rise began when he was still called Cassius Clay and was a young Olympic gold medalist in 1960. Very early, he used the microphone as much as his fists, reciting poems and taunting opponents. He even had the habit of predicting his victories and the round in which they would end before the fights even happened. That unshakable confidence fascinated as much as it irritated. When he beat Sonny Liston in 1964 to become world champion at only 22 years old, his proclamation, "I am the greatest," rang out as an undeniable truth. From that moment on, the greatest became inseparable from his name. The nickname reflected both his performances and his unique personality. Ali was not only a boxer, he was a showman who based his media presence on provocation. In the ring, he had a particular style and could dance and slip away from punches while landing devastating lefts and rights. Outside the ring, he was a political voice known for refusing to fight in the Vietnam War. He even changed his religion and his name to proudly claim his identity in an America still marked by segregation. The greatest was not an empty word, it was the embodiment of his vision of a champion who transcends sport. That title grew stronger through his legendary fights. The trilogy with Joe Frazier, the Rumble in the Jungle against George Foreman, and the Thrilla in Manila were all moments that entered history. Each dramatic victory reinforced the idea that he was not just a great fighter, but the greatest of all. Even in defeat against dangerous rivals or during the decline of his career, his aura remained intact. When he passed in 2016, the tributes confirmed what his nickname had always proclaimed: Ali was not just a champion, he was the greatest. Floyd Mayweather Money. Floyd Mayweather's nickname reflects perfectly his image and his journey. Before becoming Money, he was known as Pretty Boy, a sobriquet inherited from his amateur days. His opponents left the ring with bruised faces while he remained almost untouched, so his gym mates called him that. But the nickname no longer fit the man he was to become. When Mayweather established himself as one of the greatest technicians in history and began generating colossal revenues, a new identity took shape: Money. The turning point came in the 2000s. After leaving Top Rank, his longtime promoter Mayweather took control of his career and launched Mayweather Promotions, which allowed him to transform every fight into a major event. It was then that he chose to rename himself Money in reference to his extraordinary earnings, but also to his philosophy. The name nickname became even more anchored in the public mind when he threw money in front of cameras during training. He even once told a training partner that his paycheck looked like his social security number. The nickname became unavoidable as his purses exploded. Each performance was accompanied by a media show where he displayed luxury cars, stacks of cash, and an extravagant lifestyle. Critics saw him as a symbol of decadence, but he fully embraced the role, reminding everyone that he had built his fortune through the sweat of his victories and the precision of his business. His goal was to be the best in the ring, but also one of the richest. The peak of the nickname arrived with his record-breaking fights. The bout with Oscar de la Hoya in 2007 turned him into a global superstar, and the following events confirmed his status. Against Canelo Alvarez, Manny Pacquiao, and then Conor McGregor, he became the highest-paid athlete on the planet. Money was no longer just a nickname, it was a brand that attracted fans and haters alike, all eager to see if the undefeated man would finally fall. Today in retirement, the nickname remains etched in collective memory. Floyd Mayweather finished his career undefeated with 50 fights and 50 wins, along with a fortune estimated at several $100 million. Manny Pacquiao Pac-Man. Manny Pacquiao's nickname is one of the simplest and most universal in modern boxing. Yet it perfectly symbolizes his career. Pac-Man was born out of a phonetic coincidence. His last name Pacquiao sounds like the famous Japanese video game character Pac-Man. The association quickly imposed itself, and that nickname became his international brand. But the nickname goes far beyond a play on words. Pacquiao's style fit perfectly with the image of that small, insatiable yellow character. In the ring, he moved forward relentlessly and swallowed opponents under a storm of punches from every angle. His speed and precision added to his aggression gave the impression that he devoured every opening like Pac-Man devours pellets in the video game. That parallel charmed commentators, fans, and even his promoters who saw in it a marketing goldmine. The first time the nickname appeared in the media was in the early 2000s when Pacquiao emerged on the international stage. After his spectacular wins against Lelo Ledwaba and Marco Antonio Barrera, the world discovered this Filipino boxer with fast hands and a disarming smile. The nickname Pac-Man spread immediately. Very quickly, it became a full commercial identity with clothes and toys adopting it. Unlike other fighters who sought to project an image of hardness or menace, Pacquiao embodied an accessible, almost playful figure. But behind that light nickname, Pacquiao was not just a friendly character, he was a feared destroyer. His career across 8 weight divisions and his triumphs against legends such as Barrera Morales Marquez de la Hoya and Cotto proved that he was far from being only a marketing product. The nickname was a convivial mask, but his performances reminded the world that Pac-Man was also an insatiable predator. Over the years, Pac-Man took on an almost mythical dimension. In his native Philippines, the nickname became a national symbol. Each fight turned the streets into empty places as if the whole country paused to watch its hero. Yet Manny Pacquiao always kept his humility even after conquering the world, and he dedicated all his success to his people. Sugar Ray Leonard, Sugar. The nickname Sugar is one of the most prestigious in the entire history of boxing. It fits Leonard so well that one might think he invented it himself, though that was not the case. In reality, the nickname Sugar had already been carried by Sugar Ray Robinson because of his smooth boxing style. As a great admirer of that way of fighting, Ray Leonard asked his idol for permission to use it himself, which Robinson granted, thus allowing Leonard to carry this name. For Leonard, this heritage was not a burden, but a driving force that lit up his whole career. Leonard turned professional at the end of the 1970s in an era when boxing was seeking renewal. The sport was going through a delicate transition after the reign of Muhammad Ali, and Leonard emerged as the face of the new generation. His nickname was not just a marketing tool, but reflected his style with accuracy. Like Robinson before him, Leonard combined speed and precision with the ability to land punishing shots when the moment arrived. The sweetness of his movements never erased the brutality of his results. What also made Sugar Leonard unique was his ability to adapt. He could transform a fight into a technical showcase. With his exquisite footwork and flowing combinations, then switch to ferocity when required. This contrast, always hidden under a natural elegance, sustained the idea that he truly embodied the air of the Sugar legacy. Few fighters could combine such public charm with such ruthless efficiency. Every time Leonard stepped into the ring, the nickname came to life. His victory over Wilfred Benitez in 1979 for his first world title was a masterclass of pure science ended by a TKO in the final round. His legendary clashes with Roberto Duran confirmed that he could give modern reality to this historic name. Later, his triumph over Thomas Hearns in one of the greatest fights ever sealed Sugar Leonard's place alongside the Immortals. Beyond the ring, the nickname helped him capture the public's imagination. Leonard became a media star, appearing in advertisements, inspiring young boxers, and serving as an ambassador for his sport. Julio César Chávez, El Gran Campeón Mexicano. The nickname El Gran Campeón Mexicano was not a media invention, but a title earned through blood and sacrifice in the ring. Julio César Chávez embodied what boxing represents for Mexico, which is national pride and devotion. From the 1980s on, his tireless warrior style made him far more than an ordinary champion. He became a symbolic figure for his country. The name began circulating among fans and in the press as Chávez piled up victories. He went undefeated for more than 13 years, building an astonishing streak of 87 fights without a loss. This record reflected his consistency and toughness across a path lined with world titles in 3 different weight classes, and it gave unquestionable legitimacy to the title of Great Champion. What truly cemented the expression, though, was the way he fought with his heart for his supporters and his homeland. Every fight for Chávez was a test of both physical and moral endurance. His body hook wore opponents down, and his intensity inside the ropes suffocated them. The public saw him as the continuation of a national boxing tradition, and he made the nickname a truth rather than a slogan. The 1990s confirmed this aura. When Chávez filled the Estadio Azteca in 1993 against Greg Haugen with more than 130,000 spectators, it was not just a sporting event, but a national declaration. The nickname El Gran Campeón Mexicano could not have been better illustrated than on that day when the entire country seemed united around its hero. In that symbolic fight, Chávez destroyed Haugen in the 5th round by TKO, as if to prove that the title was not undeserved. Canelo Alvarez Canelo. He wears this nickname so naturally that most boxing fans do not even realize it is a nickname. His real name is Saul, yet the world knows him as Canelo Alvarez. In Spanish, Canelo literally means cinnamon and refers to the red color of his hair. In a country like Mexico, where red hair is rare, young Alvarez stood out from childhood, and his companions naturally called him Canelo. The name stuck and became his identity. He had talent and style, and never needed to rely on sheer brutality to win. Canelo often appeared almost too calm, yet his victories kept coming in a way that was distinctively his. The fact that he was unlike any other fighter made the nickname even more authentic, drawing him closer to the public with every fight. As Alvarez rose through the professional ranks, the resonance of the name grew. Each time he entered the ring, the crowd chanted Canelo with evident national pride. He embodied the successor of the great Mexican champions, and his nickname accentuated that bond. By refusing to change it or anglicize it despite his worldwide fame, Alvarez turned the word into a banner, because at heart he remained what he had always been, a red-haired kid from Jalisco turned champion. The nickname slowly became a global brand. With Alvarez's growing popularity in the United States during major Las Vegas events, Canelo became synonymous with record gates and astronomical pay-per-view numbers. Today, he is recognized worldwide, and even his given name seems secondary. Yet the name represents more than hair color. It reflects the uniqueness of a man who built his career without losing his authenticity. In a sport where nicknames are often designed to intimidate, Canelo recalls instead a modest origin that grew alongside his sporting exploits. This blend of simplicity and greatness makes it one of the most unique names in boxing history. Deontay Wilder, the Bronze Bomber. Deontay Wilder's nickname is directly tied to his Olympic journey. Before becoming heavyweight world champion, Wilder was a young man who had found in boxing a path out of a difficult upbringing in Alabama. He started at the age of 20, which is considered late in the sport, yet his imposing physique and raw power carried him quickly to the top of the amateur circuit. At the 2008 Beijing Olympics, he won a bronze medal, which was remarkable for someone with so little experience. That medal gave him the first part of his nickname. For Wilder, the bronze represented more than a result. It marked international recognition and placed him in the lineage of great American heavyweights. Yet he needed a name that carried greater weight. Inspiration came from Joe Louis, one of the sport's all-time legends known as the Brown Bomber. By taking a variation of that mythical name, Wilder claimed both heritage and uniqueness. He wore the nickname not as a title, but as a real identity in the ring. Wilder was an explosive fighter, often criticized for flawed technique, but adored for his ability to to deliver spectacular knockouts. His devastating right hand itself, nicknamed the Equalizer, embodied the idea of the bomber. He did not build his victories by accumulation, but sealed them with one single blast. The resonance of the name grew as Wilder defended his WBC title. His stunning knockouts circled the world, and the Bronze Bomber became synonymous with raw power. He was a champion, but more importantly, he was a fighter who drew crowds because the nickname captured exactly what they wanted to see, which was explosion and unpredictability. Yet the nickname also carried symbolism by combining bronze, which recalled his Olympic roots, and bomber, which evoked a past legend. Wilder linked two eras. He placed himself as the bridge between the history of great American heavyweights and the spectacle of a modern star who appealed to a new generation. Even in defeat against Tyson Fury, the name did not lose strength. It continued to reflect a fighter whose punch could change destiny in a single second. Roberto Duran, Hands of Stone. Roberto Duran is one of those fighters whose nickname has crossed generations to become a trademark. Born in Panama in 1951 in extreme poverty, he grew up in the streets of the capital where he learned to fight long before putting on gloves. When he entered a gym, trainers immediately realized he was not just another street kid. Duran possessed unusual natural power and a ferocity that seemed inexhaustible. His style was direct and brutal as he constantly pressed forward, applying relentless pressure and punching with a force that looked disproportionate for a lightweight. Every shot landed with the weight of a middleweight. From his professional beginnings, spectators and journalists noticed that his hands were something different. His opponents left the ring beaten and broken, often unable to continue. That was how the nickname Manos de Piedra, translated as Hands of Stone, began to spread. The name was no exaggeration. Duran built his whole legend around it. In the 1970s, he dominated the lightweight division, destroying established champions with the brutality of his blows. His victory over Ken Buchanan in 1972 that crowned him WBA champion marked the start of a reign lasting nearly a decade. Every fight reinforced the idea that his fists were made of stone, capable of breaking both guards and bones. When he moved up to face Sugar Ray Leonard in 1980, the nickname followed him. Many thought he would be outclassed by Leonard's speed and elegance. Yet in their first clash in Montreal, Duran imposed his toughness and relentless pressure, beating the American by unanimous decision. That night, Hands of Stone was not just a name, but a visible reality in front of millions of viewers. Even his defeats, such as the infamous Nomaz against Leonard in the rematch, did not erase what his nickname represented. Beyond controversy, what fans remembered was the violence contained in every punch he threw. His longevity also strengthened the legend, for he fought until past 50 years old with more than 100 professional victories. Even in defeat against Tyson Fury, the name did not lose strength. It continued to reflect a fighter whose punch could change destiny in a single second. Roberto Duran, Hands of Stone. Roberto Duran is one of those fighters whose nickname has crossed generations to become a trademark. Born in Panama in 1951 in extreme poverty, he grew up in the streets of the capital where he learned to fight long before putting on gloves. When he entered a gym, trainers immediately realized he was not just another street kid. Duran possessed unusual natural power and a ferocity that seemed inexhaustible. His style was direct and brutal as he constantly pressed forward, applying relentless pressure and punching with a force that looked disproportionate for a lightweight. Every shot landed with the weight of a middleweight. From his professional beginnings, spectators and journalists noticed that his hands were something different. His opponents left the ring beaten and broken, often unable to continue. That was how the nickname Manos de Piedra, translated as Hands of Stone, began to spread. The name was no exaggeration. Duran built his whole legend around it. In the 1970s, he dominated the lightweight division, destroying established champions with the brutality of his blows. His victory over Ken Buchanan in 1972 that crowned him WBA champion marked the start of a reign lasting nearly a decade. Every fight reinforced the idea that his fists were made of stone, capable of breaking both guards and bones. When he moved up to face Sugar Ray Leonard in 1980, the nickname followed him. Many thought he would be outclassed by Leonard's speed and elegance. Yet in their first clash in Montreal, Duran imposed his toughness and relentless pressure, beating the American by unanimous decision. That night, Hands of Stone was not just a name, but a visible reality in front of millions of viewers. Even his defeats, such as the infamous Nomaz against Leonard in the rematch, did not erase what his nickname represented. Beyond controversy, what fans remembered was the violence contained in every punch he threw. His longevity also strengthened the legend, for he fought until past 50 years old with more than 100 professional victories.